What's up, boys? Today we are going to be doing the long-awaited Escanor guide. Now, I'm only going to be doing the Axe and the Greatsword build in this video. I will not be doing the Sword and Shield because the Axe and the Greatsword are going to be the considered meta builds for him. If you guys would like for me to do the Sword and Shield, and if you guys would like for me to do all three weapons on every single character moving forward, please let me know in the comment section below. And without further ado, let's get started. So first, we're going to start with Escanor's passive, Sunspot Explosion. You gain 1 stack of Sunspot for 20 seconds when attacking an enemy when you don't have Flare or Fading Sun active. Sunspot itself increases your fire damage by 3% and max HP by 1.5% for every 1 stack. At max stacks, you get rid of Sunspot and you instead gain Flare for 15 seconds. Flare restores 10% of your max HP the first time the effect is granted and increases fire damage by 50% and the hero's max HP by 25%. You also decrease your damage taken by 20%. At the end of this effect, you then get Fading Sun. Fading Sun decreases your max HP by 25%. Now we'll go on to the potentials that affect his passive, and those are going to be potential 6 and potential 9. Potential 6 is going to decrease the HP reduction from Fading Sun by 10%, and potential 9 is going to increase the damage reduction from Flare by 20%. Now onto Escanor's special attack, Condensed Sun. This is a charge ability where the longer you hold it, the more damage it does. While you're holding it, you are immune to reactions and you decrease the damage you take by 30%. And if you fully charge this attack on an enemy with Fire Burst activated, you will do an additional 70% of your HP as damage. For those wondering what immune to reactions means, it simply means that if you get hit by the boss while you're doing this ability, it won't get interrupted, you will continue to keep charging, and then you will continue to do your damage. Next, the potentials that affect the special attack. And these are going to be potential 2, 6, and 10. Both 2 and 6 do the same thing, they just increase the amount of damage it does. While number 10 gives you a new effect, it's going to give you a big AoE around your character, which is going to do a percentage of your HP and damage depending on how long you charge it. Going to make everybody around you take more damage, and it's going to decrease the amount of damage you take while charging it. Next is Escanor's normal skill, Prideful Line. This one's very simple, it just does damage in a line and gives you 2 stacks of Sunspot. Now onto the potentials that affect the normal skill, which is only going to be potential 7, which is going to add 2 more projectiles to the normal skill. Now on paper, this doesn't seem like a massive change, however, the way it's coded is that it's actually 3 separate casts of the ability now. So not only can each line do damage individually, each line also individually adds a stack of Sunspot. So if you hit a target with all 3 lines, you will then get your maximum of 2 stacks each times 3, which is 6. And then also you will get your additional 1 from actually starting a fight and engaging it, and then each one has a chance because of your engraved to give you an additional stack. So as you can see, I hit Galland right here with just my E alone, and I instantly jumped up to 9 stacks of Sunspot. So this is a massive buff for Escanor, and arguably one of the most influential potentials for Escanor. Lastly, we have Escanor's ultimate move, Cleansing Fire. This is one giant big hit that does a massive amount of damage. Additionally, it does 30% of your remaining HP as damage if the enemy also has Fire Burst activated, and this consumes all of your available magic points on your character. As long as you have 2, you can press this, but if you have 3, it will use all 3. If you have 4, use all 4, so on and so forth. It will also leave a small pool on the ground for 2 seconds afterwards, and if you do a combined attack with Escanor as the base, it will increase the hero's max HP by 30% for 20 seconds. Lastly, we'll cover the potentials that increase his ultimate, and that is going to be P4, P9, and P5. P4 and P9 essentially do the same thing, they just increase the amount of damage it does, while P5 leaves a giant pool on the ground. It makes it last even longer than before, and while you stand in it, you will gain a stacking buff that increases your fire damage. Now onto Escanor's best equipment, and that is going to obviously be the Northern Wilderness set for the Noonday Sun talent. The Noonday Sun talent is very important for him because besides his passive, there's really no way to get sunspots other than the ease and just waiting. So this actually allows the character to come online by just doing damage and allowing you to get your flare much quicker than you would otherwise. And the chance of you getting sunspots increases with levels, as well as the amount of max HP that using your special attack gives you. Lastly, as of developer notes number 13, we are going to be able to wear other armor pieces along with our engraving set. So if you are looking at this video from the future, i.e. post patch 1.5, just know that this won't be covered here because obviously we can't wear those yet, but I did want to make a note of that in case people saw this in a time where these were available and they're wondering why I'm not mentioning it. That is why. Escanor's best weapon is going to be the Gluttonous Soul Axe. It is not going to be the Black Flame Wings Axe. And the reason that is because of Escanor's inherent HP scaling. Escanor is one of the few characters in the game that actually cares about HP, and because of that, he's also one of the few characters in the game that genuinely cares about the other people on his team also being leveled up. So a character like Meliodas, you can get away with simply leveling up Meliodas and completely ignoring everybody else on your team. However, that will not fly with Escanor, as in order to get the most amount of damage possible from him, you will have to upgrade everybody on your team to upgrade your health as much as possible. This is why putting stuff like the double Curse Pulse 2 set earrings on your supports for the plus 10% HP is really, really good on Escanor, as well as if you can, try to get like the 4 set life set on any of your supports if possible. Lastly, we're going to mention Escanor's best stats and enchantments. So his best enchantment is going to be the fire enchantments. The things that you're going to want to be rolling for is 1 crit chance up to 50%, fire damage, crit damage, and ult damage. Honorable mentions are going to be fire attack increase, and if you have P7 plus, normal skill damage increase. If you're already at 50% crit chance, then the value of crit chance goes from being the most important value to being the least important value, and then the most important thing for you to get would be fire damage. Lastly, guys, here is my stat sheet. As you can see, I have 50% crit chance, and as of right now, I have 90% crit damage. Now, the two that you want to be shooting for is obviously somewhere roughly between 50% crit chance and somewhere around 110% crit damage, I believe is the maximum that we are going to be able to get as of right now, somewhere in that ballpark. The reason being is because the Gluttonous Axe does not give any crit damage. Now that is going to be changed as of patch 1.5, but as of right now, it does not change. So if you're here from the future and you already have crit damage from the Gluttonous Axe, simply add whatever the percentage is to 110%, and that will be your new max. But as of right now, we are missing that 48% crit damage from the Black Flame Wing set, something that Meliodas would normally get. And we also have just less crit damage than somebody like Meliodas. That is why our crit damage is going to be much lower. And as you guys can see, I have fire attack increase and fire damage increase. The only thing I am missing is ultimate damage increase. I am still re-rolling fire enchants myself, so we could all always improve. Lastly, I want to talk about the best accessories for Escanor, and that's going to be anything on this graph right here. Now, if you've seen my videos, you've seen this graph before, and you'll see it again. So this graph is going to be every single combination of accessories that is optimal for any DPS character in general, not just Escanor. Now, once again, as I've said before, and you hear me say again, anything to the left of the corrupted set, the full corrupted set, we are going to completely ignore. These sets are entirely too inconsistent, and while they do some of the most damage in the game, they are really only good for speedrunners just because of how inconsistent they are. You're going to get blocked a lot, you're not going to crit that much, and they're overall extremely unpleasant to play. While they do a lot of damage, they are just not good for your average player. So we are going to focus on everything from the corrupted set to the right. And anything that you're going to wear is going to essentially be what you are missing from your stats. So if we are trying to hit the 50% crit chance, 110% crit damage, you are essentially going to wear whatever set is going to give you that 50% crit chance and 110% damage. We are going to first focus on the 50% crit chance, so if you're pretty low on crit, do something with the Arachne. But however, if you are already at 50% crit chance, or maybe you have a Corrupted Watcher's Ring that has a little bit of crit chance on it, and that will get you to 50%, and then you can use the rest for crit damage, then that's what you'll do. For the average player, I'm going to recommend any of the Life Crystal stuff with an According Ring, right? So if you're missing a lot of crit chance, Life Crystal with Arachne. If you're missing crit damage, Life Crystal with Corrupted, right? And then any of the other ones, full Arachne is going to be if you're missing a lot of crit. A Cursed Pulse one is if you got one with double crit. And lastly, the Dark Chaos Earrings one with the 2 life set ones at the top. That one is going to be if you just want that little bit extra damage. I recommend the full Corrupted though, if you're going to want to do something with a little bit more damage, right? The Chaos one is just a little bit too much of that mix of consistent and damage. Where if you want damage, just go for full damage and just go straight corrupted. Whereas if you want something more consistent, do something with the life crystal sets and then the one of the rings instead. But as always, boys, it's a free country. Y'all can do whatever you want. And now when you put it all together, the way to play Escanor is actually quite simple. So all you want to do is take your Fireburst character, whether it be Tristan or Gila, and then as soon as you pop in your Escanor, if you are P7, you can do an auto attack and then instantly press E. If not, if you are lower than P7, you're going to have to get him somewhere around 9 stacks first so that you could then press E and then pop your flare. After you have done that, then you just dump all of your ult on the target. And if the target is still alive, then you want to press Q and then you just do your whole rotation all over again. So once you have your Escanor fully built out, it should look something like this. Now we will move on to Holy Escanor, and we'll start with his passive, Guidance of Light. This increases all of your allies' heroes' dot damage by 120%, increases your damage to burnt enemies by 30% per stack, and decreases your damage taken from burnt enemies by 15%. Now, since we're on the topic of burn, I would like to make a note that Escanor's burn damage is not something you want to actually build for. Escanor's burn actually does fire damage, not holy damage. Because of this, every single time that you're going to be using Greatsword Escanor is going to be on bosses that are weak to holy, all of which, for the most part right now, are resistant to fire. This means that the only time you want to actually build a fire slash burn build for Escanor is if you want to do like a meme build, like how Seaton covered in his video way back when, right? This is the only time you want to actually build any dot efficiency or any burn damage or anything like that on this character. All of his damage comes from his basic abilities and his ult, not from the burn. The burn is just there to apply the defense reduction debuff and for increasing your damage. That is it. It itself does little to no damage to the boss. And how you apply the debuff is going to be from his normal attack, solo orbit. You just have a 50% chance of applying it every single time you do an auto attack. Now onto the potentials that affect his passive and his normal attack. And that is going to be P7, P9, and to a certain extent, P10. So P7 is going to increase the chance of you applying a burn with your normal attack, Solar Orbit. P9 is going to decrease the amount of damage you take from a burned enemy by an additional 15%. And P10 is going to be quite a lengthy passive. The part that pertains to the passive is going to essentially be the Divine Flame part. You can basically get a passive number 2. This passive is going to increase the burn damage taken by an additional 15%, stacking up to 10 times, so 150% in total. Now, obviously, guys, I have a P10 Escanor, and I'm fully able to utilize this passive that increases my burn damage by 150%, and the burn is still negligible in damage. So, for a more free to play person who doesn't even have this increased 150% damage, that's why I'm so confident to say that the burn is just not something you should be building, right? It's not even good for me, and I am a whale, right? So, if it's not good for me, it's not going to be good for you. Next is Escanor's special skill, Solar Impact, or I guess I should say special attack. This one's pretty simple. You just hit the ground and a small AoE around you, you do some damage, and you apply one weakening stack for each burn on the target. Now onto the potentials that affect his special attack, and that is going to be P4, P7, and P10. P4 is just going to be a damage increase. P7 is going to make it so that whenever you hit a target who already has the defense on it, the defense shatter, it's going to go up by 30, which is very nice. And P10, as I mentioned before, is a pretty lengthy passive, but the only thing that actually pertains to the special attack is you essentially get a Q2, right? So it's going to be very easy to apply Divine Flame because you're always going to be wanting to apply some time of burn on the target. So you essentially just get another activation of your special attack. This one doing roughly the same amount of damage, if not more at times. A small thing to note about this Q2 is that it's actually fully invulnerable. As you'll see in this clip right here, the spider actually tries to hit me, and I just it just goes completely through me. It's a cool little neat thing about the Q2 that most people don't know about. Next is his normal skill, Cruel Sun. And this ability is pretty simple. You just throw a pocket sun at somebody and it does a lot of damage. It also decreases the burn damage trigger interval by 50%, but as we mentioned earlier, the burn isn't really something you want to build, so this part of the talent is pretty negligible. And now onto the potentials that affect your normal skill, and this is going to be pretty simple. It's just going to be P6, and it's just going to simply increase the damage it deals. That's it. And onto Escanor's ultimate move, Rising Sun. This one inflicts a lot of damage in the area around it, and it specifically deals more damage when the target has defense reduction stacks on it. The more stacks it has, the more damage it does. Now, these defense stacks do stack up to 100, so 2% for every one stack, that is 200% more damage, which is a massive deal. And this is one of the reasons why you want to have burns on the target, even though they do no damage, simply just to have these defense stacks stacking up so that your ultimate can do more and more damage. And finally, the potentials that affect the ultimate move are going to be P9 and P5. P9 is going to be very simple, it just increases the amount of damage it does, while P5 is going to be the more fun one. After your sun is done and expires, it explodes and deals a patch on the ground that does additional damage over time. This is a very neat, very fun ability, and it's especially fun because you can throw another sun while this patch is still up, so you could basically double dip on the damage. It's honestly one of the coolest things in the game, and honestly, I think the whole sun ability is just like the best thing about Escanor. Next is his best equipment, and this is to no one's surprise, the Sufficient Arrogance set. And that is obviously because it is going to increase his holy damage and it's going to increase the defense burn stacks. Now, all the levels do is increase the amount of holy damage you do. I mean, I say that like it's no big deal. It's a giant deal. However, having the burn stacks apply defense faster is a more massive deal because it lets you kill stuff faster. Right, but this is just my way of saying that, like, hey, if you get a level 1, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, a level 3 is the best, and, 40% increase holy damage is absolutely ginormous, but literally just getting a level 1 would also increase your damage dramatically. Now onto his best weapon, which is going to be the Black Flame Wings Greatsword. And the reasoning behind this is going to be extremely simple. It's just because he gives you 48% crit damage on the sword baseline. The activating burst part is nice and it's neat, and you're able to do that, but honestly, that part is completely irrelevant. It's mostly just the 48% crit damage you get from the sword baseline, right? As the sword increases, you obviously get more and more value from activating a burst, but my sword itself is only level 3, right? So I'm getting a level 4 talent, and I still do crazy amounts of damage, right? Like the burst is cool, it's neat, but honestly, Escanor does his damage, so it takes so long for him to do his damage that it's really hard for him to utilize the burst. So we're really just using this just for the 48% crit damage. It's going to be very easy for another weapon to come out and just flat out be better than this. Right now, the Breath of Glory one is just not better because his normal attacks aren't his damage, it's all his abilities and his ult. So we're simply waiting for another great sword to come out that has some high ult damage or some high crit damage or something like that. So right now, this is kind of just a placeholder, but it is what it is, and it is what we can do for now. For his accessories, the logic is going to be exactly the same as with Fire Escanor. So if you skip that, go ahead and go back to this timestamp right here. The logic will be exactly the same. The only difference is going to be because we have an extra 48% crit damage from the sword, you're going to be able to increase your crit damage up to 150%. However, your crit chance, what you want, is still going to be 50%. So your new number is going to be 50% crit chance and 150% crit damage. Other than that, everything I said in the fire accessory guide for Escanor is going to be completely relevant for the Holy One. So I won't be going over it again. You guys can just go back, watch that, and then continue from here on. And finally, we will go over Escanor's best stats and enchants. So for his best enchants, you are going to want to be rolling the Holy enchants for him. And ascending from best to worst, it is going to be crit chance up to 50%, very similar to fire, holy damage, crit damage, and lastly, ultimate move damage. Honorable mentions are going to be holy attack increase and normal skill increase. And if you are at P10 by any chance, you can also get special attack increase as an honorable mention. Now, very similar to Fire Escanor, if you already have 50% crit chance, then the value of crit chance goes from being the most important thing for you to roll to the least important thing for you to roll. And then holy damage will be the most important thing for you to roll. Now, if we go to my personal stat sheet for Escanor, you will see that I have 49.99% crit chance. That's essentially 50%, close enough for me. And I have 123% crit damage, right? So I'm missing about 27% crit damage that I could still be min maxing. And I do want to reiterate that the 50% crit chance and the 150% crit damage is an end goal, right? If you are at these numbers, that is completely okay. Not even I am at these numbers. These are just the theoretical like maximums for the character and what you should be shooting for. Holy damage, of course, anything above 0% is going to be good. And as you can see, I have normal skill damage. I don't have ult damage. I wish I did, but it is what it is. We take the rolls that we can get. Now for how to actually play Holy Escanor, it's actually fairly simple. So first thing you want to do is just have your burst character, and what you want to do is one of two things. Either leave the burst gauge at 99% so that you can pop the burst, or what I actually recommend you do is to buffer the burst character with some kind of ability and then call in Escanor as that character is doing it. For those of you that don't know, you can do an ability on one character, call in another character, and that character will finish doing their ability before they leave the battlefield. So right here in this clip, I make Gilthunder do his normal skill, and as I press the normal skill, I call in Escanor, and as you can see, Gilthunder continues to do his normal skill, and he's actually the one that pops the burst, but because Escanor is the one that's on the field, Escanor is able to get the passive from the Black Flame Sword. So I recommend everybody do this tech instead of trying to get it to 99% and then calling in Escanor, because this is just much smoother for gameplay and it just overall will make you a better player. After you do that, you just want to make sure that you get all of your stacks on him. I am P10, so as I said, I can just get a stack of it, press Q, and then by then, a lot of the defense will already be there, so I can skip a lot of this. If you do not have P10, you want to get 5 stacks on there, then you want to press Q, then you want to press your ult, and then E, and then have some fun. And when you put all of it together, you can do things like this. And that's it, guys. That's the Escanor guide. Let me know what you guys think, and let me know if you guys want me to do Sword and Shield Escanor and all 3 weapons for all the characters moving forward. Other than that, have a good rest of you guys' day. Hope it helps.